French economist Thomas Piketty, whose book Capital in the 21st Century has sold over 2 million copies worldwide, has warned that the government's decision to cut corporate tax rate from 25% to 30% could be dangerous for India in the long run. Speaking to CNBC TV 18's Ronojoy Banerjee, Piketty said history showed that there is constant pressure on governments to gradually bring down corporate tax rates, which potentially increases the income gap between large corporate houses and small and medium enterprises. Listen into that conversation.
There is a risk that by cutting more and more the corporate tax rate, there will be in the end a loss in tax revenue. So the government is claiming the opposite. The government is saying that in fact they will increase the effective tax rate. Let's see, but I'm a bit concerned that maybe now they are reducing the rate from 30 to 25, but then in 5 years they will want to reduce it to 20 and then to 15, then to 10. We've seen that in a number of European countries. There's a risk that slowly, gradually, we tend to reduce the tax rate paid by the most mobile tax base, and then we increase only the tax paid by those who cannot move. So typically we increase consumption tax, we increase the tax paid by the middle class or the bottom groups in the population. Now I think this is a very dangerous evolution in the long run, because if the middle class or the small and medium-sized businesses feel that they are paying more than what the biggest corporations are paying or the top income or wealth group are paying, then there's a risk that at some point, the people in the middle or in the bottom will not want to pay. So if you want, the rule must be, if you want to build state capacity and adequate financing of public investment in education and health, the rule must be that everybody has to pay a fair share in tax, and people at the top must pay effective tax rates that are at least as large as people in the middle of the distribution. So just to take an example, there's no inheritance tax right now in India, so you have very large tax rate on consumption, but zero tax rate on inheritance. Well, I think there are different mechanisms that can produce inequality, and indeed one of them is that in very low growth economy, both very low population growth, low productivity growth, like what we have in developed Western countries, then the tendency for the rate of return to capital to exceed this growth rate can contribute to very high and persistent perpetuation of highly concentrated wealth. Now, there are other mechanisms that can also produce inequality in other contexts, and probably, the main force to reduce inequality is the diffusion of education and knowledge, which also means that if you don't have this broad-based investment in education and knowledge, and this is an issue in a country like India, then inequality will remain very high, and in the long run can also be bad for sustainable and inclusive growth.
In fact, Thomas Piketty was in Jaipur for the Literature Festival, and his book, Capital in the 21st Century, has sold over 2 billion copies, and very recently a Hindi version of that book has also come out. Few economists in the world have gripped the imagination of people as much as Thomas Piketty has. In fact, the Financial Times calling him the rock star economist of the 21st century. Moving on then, the Gujarat government has acclaimed for its speedy, simple and rewarding land acquisition process in Sanand, which lit the fortunes of several villages overnight. But in the first part of our Budget Caravan series, Farah Bukwala Bora travelled deeper into the automotive hub, only to find that for some villages, good fortunes couldn't have been more elusive.
Nearly 8 kilometers from the imposing Tata Nano factory in Sanand lies Kalana, a Muslim-dominated village of 1,500 people. As we walked down its dusty bylanes, curious residents asked us why we were here. At the very mention of Jameen Sampadan or land acquisition, we were surrounded by a motley of villagers. The villagers say the Gujarat Industrial Development Corporation agreed to purchase 365 bighas of land in Kalana in 2013. Excited by the 350 crore rupees on offer, villagers gave their consent. But a year ago came the big blow.
શરૂઆતમાં એ લોકો અમને 15 ભાવ બતાવ્યો, પછી અમે ગામ લોકો આગ્રહ થઈ ગયા, પછી આગ્રહ થયા પછી અમે ફોર્મ ભરી દીધા, અને એ ફોર્મ ભરેલા આજે 3 વર્ષ થઈ ગયા, તો એ અમારા ફોર્મ ભરેલાના હજુ કઈ અમને ચાક નહીં ચૂક્યા અથવા કોઈ નિર્ણય આપ્યો નહીં.
वो बोलता है कि हमारे पास पैसा नहीं है, वही ऐसा बोलता है, बराबर।
हाँ,
वो जीआईडी वाले।
हाँ,
और दूसरी बात क्या है कि बाजू वाले जो खोरस गांव की जमीन मिल गई नहीं, तो इसी का कोई इसके लेने का इरादा नहीं है।
The GIDC's decision to not purchase land in Kalana has put villagers in a spot. Many of them had planned on purchasing agricultural land in other villages, and in fact many of them had proceeded to offer token money for the same. The others were in fact hoping to reap the benefits that come from land acquisition. In exchange for their land, the GIDC not only provides compensation but also provides each family with a commercially developed plot. The landowner's kin is entitled to a job in any of the nearby industrial estates, and at the same time one family member is also entitled to skill development training for up to 2 years.
What irks villagers more is GIDC's silence on when it would release their land from its database. Until such time, these villagers cannot farm on their land, cannot sell or mortgage it, nor secure a bank loan against it. Our efforts to reach GIDC land officials did not bear fruit. Instead, we met State Minister Thomas Piketty, and his response was a telling one.
Whatever the villagers who want to sell the government the land, it is the government to decide whether they require it or not. Now maybe in the future when we require more pieces, we'll go to them.
Kalana's residents tell us the adjoining village of Khoraj is facing trouble too.
In the village of Khoraj, the GIDC began acquiring land nearly 3 years ago. Till date, nearly 6,000 bighas of land have been acquired, but villagers say 20% of the payment for this land is still pending. In terms of the total number of villagers, nearly 120 people are yet to receive their payments.
We met 45-year-old Khoraj farmer and businessman Alkesh Modi, who filed a petition in the Gujarat High Court after the GIDC failed to compensate him for his land. Modi says, according to the new Land Acquisition Act, the GIDC must pay farmers 4 times the market value of land. But the GIDC is unwilling.
But GIDC is not ready to pay us the compensation as per new act. They are insisting us to take the payment as per old act, and that too in an illegal way by the way of sale deed.
Sure enough, this letter by the GIDC tells farmers to accept 3 conditions if they want their compensation. Execute a sale deed under old compensation rates, forego interest on their land, and agree not to approach the courts.
GIDC वाला 4 गणा भाव आपने बने व्याजी आपने ना पड़े हम तो आ खेडूत आमा अटैक आई गया मानन खेडूत ना मने अटैक आई गयो मने ऑपरेशन कराई नाख्યું बायपास कराયું.
We asked Patel about stall payments and the GIDC's letter to farmers. He says he is unaware of such instances. But such ignorance is doing little to help these villages, which have seen the sun setting on their dreams.
So the state of affairs there obviously in stark contrast to Gujarat's reputation for actually speedily executing such maneuvers. But moving on and staying with our budget theme, in fact, global truck and bus maker Volvo has been around in India for a long time, and the Swedish auto giant has definitely made its mark in the country. Speaking to CNBC TV 18's Purnima Murli, the president of the group's trucks division in India, says the next big trigger for the entire trucking industry in India will be the passage of the landmark GST bill, paving the way for more freight transfers across the country. Here's that conversation.
Budget session. We have with us Pierre-Jean, President of Volvo Group Trucks. Thank you so much for talking to CNBC TV 18. Let me begin by asking you in terms of the challenges that you see currently in the auto sector.
Thank you very much, Purnima, for joining us today in our Oscote factory. And if I could reflect, actually, I don't see a lot of challenges in India. I see a lot of opportunities.
Right.
The truck market has reached a fantastic momentum last year, with an overall increase of 33%. The economy is the most dynamic in the world, with 7% more growth. So it means that all is geared, is set for dynamic growth and for a dynamic truck market.
Also, there are 2 issues right now. One is GST bill being stuck in the parliament, and on the other hand, violation of emission norms, which is currently being discussed and seen as a big issue. So first, let's go to the GST bill. If it is implemented, what kind of an impact will it have on the Volvo truck business?
I mean, as far as Volvo Trucks is concerned, we are very much welcoming the GST to be implemented. Because mainly it will drive ease of doing business, ease of transportation of goods across the country, and it will request from our customer more efficient trucks, more performant trucks that we are very eager to sell. So if the GST is implemented, the flow of goods will be more important. So the customer will look for more modern, more professional solution that we can make available in India. And if I can reflect on it to the big rival of India, that is China.
Right.
In China right now, we are having a unique leadership position, being a foreign brand, into the goods transported from the internet economy. So it means that the technological shift happens with the favorable ecosystem. So the moment GST will happen, then we will capture the opportunity. So we are very, very eager to have it happening. If I reflect on the emission norms, we are very much welcoming that. Why? Because we are ready. If we look at Volvo Trucks, over some countries we are already Euro 6 compliant. So we can make this technology available in the country anytime soon. We would very much welcome as well some initiatives that we have seen in some countries where if you anticipate the trucks to be at the Bharat 6 norm, you will get some tax incentive. And that will force the industry to accelerate the change.
Is there any particular area where you need some sort of clarity from the government on the regulatory front, if there is?
I think if I reflect on what has done the Moody administration for a year, is extremely good. Set the direction, set the ambition for India, for the people, for the world community. I think it's the first Prime Minister you have that is so active on the international scene. So it is good. You know, I've been playing rugby for 25 years, and in rugby, you score a try. But the most important is not to score a try, is to transform the try. And I think today the business community is very eager to see all what has been declared implemented.
It was a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Pierre-Jean.
Thank you very much, Purnama. Much appreciated.
Thank you.